Hi, you're live with Vide. I am Commissioner Wells-Hedrington, and it's a pleasure to be here to introduce our newest member of our leadership team, our district superintendent for the St. Croix District, Dr. Belton-Gonzalez. How are you, Dr. Gonzalez?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
So you've been boots on the ground for the past couple of days. Before we jump into how you're feeling as a new superintendent in the district, tell us a little bit about you and your educational experience thus far that has gotten you to where you are, and how that contributes to our overall success here in the VI.
Sure. So I worked as a teacher for 12 years, and I have taught everything pretty much from pre-K through university courses. I've taught bilingual and ESL coursework at the college level. And I started out being a Spanish teacher, and then I moved on to bilingual education in the elementary schools. And after doing that for 12 years, I moved on to be an assistant principal. I did that for another 4 years. And then I was always just feeling like that my skills could be used for the greater good. And so after being an assistant principal, I moved on to be director of bilingual and ESL. Did that for 3 years, and I just felt like something was missing, that I needed to go back and become a principal. So I was a high school principal for 3 years, and then I became a coordinator for English as a second language programs. And so I supported 6 campuses. And part of my responsibilities were instruction and also compliance. So I went into classrooms, observed teachers teaching, gave feedback to the principals on how they could improve. And then also I made sure that our state and federal compliance was in check, so that we could make sure that we had everything that we needed so that we could be in compliance with our state and federal guidelines.
Awesome. So you have quite an extensive amount of years in education.
I do.
So when we posted the position, we had the departure of our former superintendent who moved on to the mainland to be a superintendent. We made the decision to post the position. Normally, that's not what we do. We always try to recruit from inside, but because it's a 2-year position, it was difficult to find someone who would be willing to come on in the middle of an administration. And so when we posted the position, I was really shocked at the amount of applicants that we received. And during the interview, I remember you said something, you lead from the heart. And one of the things that I've always said in my journey is education is the work of the heart. So when you talk about leading from the heart, what does that look like?
Well, for me, I always keep in mind my 12 years when I taught, when I was a teacher. And so you need support when you're teaching. You need support from your leadership team. But unfortunately, sometimes I didn't get all the support that I needed. Same thing when I went into administration. It's just, there's a lot involved, and sometimes your superiors are a little busy. And so I always said to myself when I got into a position like this, that I would always remember where I came from and remember what I needed as a teacher to do my job, and remember what I needed as a school administrator to do my job. So I always keep that in mind when I lead. And then also I'm a parent, and so my goal is to make sure that each and every kid would be treated as I would want my own children to be treated. So each and every kid that comes on every campus, they need to be treated special. They need to be treated as individuals so that all of their needs are addressed. And we don't need to let any kids fall through the cracks because this reason or that reason. We need to make sure that we treat them how they deserve to be treated, and to give them the education that they deserve.
I totally agree. One of my mantras is student first. And so if we keep the students at the center of what we're doing, then our decisions are reflecting on what's in the best interest of our children. So I love to hear that. So you visited some schools.
I did.
Tell me, what are your thoughts?
I saw a lot of great things going on this week. It's only the third day of class, but I went into some schools on Monday, also went into some schools on Tuesday. And of course, we did have some challenges. I do have to be transparent about that. But in spite of all of that, there was teaching and learning going on. The teachers were professionals. They were making sure the kids had what they needed academically. There were kids that were engaged, raising their hands, trying to take part of what was going on in the classroom. So there's a lot, like I said before, there's a lot of challenges going on, but inside our classrooms, there's a whole lot of greatness going on.
So the St. Croix District is going through a transition, meaning it's new leadership. We have a new superintendent, which is you. And you also have a new deputy superintendent that started today, Andrea Shillingford. And so it's a new beginning for the St. Croix District. And many would say it's going to be hard for you to transition into island life, being that you're coming from Texas. But how do you feel your transition has been thus far?
I think it's been great thus far, and island life is not something that's new to me. My husband is from the Dominican Republic, and I spent 2 years living and working in the Dominican Republic, so I'm familiar with island life and how it is a little bit different from the mainland. But I am super excited. Some people like to call them that they're difficult, but I think these are opportunities for growth. And so there are so many opportunities out there for my deputies and I to make an impact on the lives of children. So it's something very exciting that I'm looking forward to being a part of.
I'm happy you said that. And part of why we're doing this live today is to be transparent and give the community an opportunity to get to know you.
Yes.
A lot of times people make speculations about people without really having context of where they came from and how they could be an asset and of value to this community. And so I've said it to you, I've said it to your colleagues that we are focusing on instruction. And so when you did your visits, you said something to me that stuck out. One of the teachers said,
exactly,
you actually came.
Yes. So on the first day, last Friday, when I had my opportunity to meet teachers, staff, principals, everyone, I told them that part of what I wanted to do this year was to be out on campuses and in classrooms. Like, I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's happening as far as teaching. I want to know what's happening as far as learning. And I want to know where I can be of service to add. And so I told everyone that they would see me out on campuses. And so as I did my walks on Monday, a teacher said, "You're here." And I said, yes, I said I would be here. And she said, well, people say things like that all the time, but we don't really expect them to follow through. And I said, well, I'm here and I'm going to come back. I'll always be here. And then I had another teacher. I sat in on his class it was very briefly. And then I ended up seeing him later on the campus. And he said, you weren't there that long. You missed the good part. And I said, don't worry. I'm going to come back and see all the good parts. So I'm very excited about getting in there and getting to know the teachers and their teaching style and meeting the kids also, because that's the foundation, like what you said before. That's the foundation of everything we do. So
Right.
it's exciting times.
So we had the opportunity to participate in a small PD today where you are putting together your district improvement plans. We've done a lot of foundational work with our schools where our principals and their teams put together their school improvement plans, and we align the funding to support their initiatives. And now you're taking everybody's plans and then you're trying to develop your plan to meet their needs and support. So I feel like the most critical aspect of our work this year is actually the support that we're giving to the schools. And you mentioned that you supported some schools. What did that look like? And how are you going to take that experience and bring it into the work that you're doing in St. Croix?
Yeah, sure. When I was a coordinator, out of the 5 days of the week, 4 days I was out on campuses. And so my responsibility was to go in and look at teachers, see what they were doing in their classes, see what the kids were doing in their classes, meeting with the deans, meeting with the assistant principals and the principals, just to talk about what was going on in the classes. And a lot of times what we would do would be learning walks where there would be several of us together, and we would have a list of look-fors where we would go in and see if this was actually happening in the class, because we wanted to make sure that whatever that we were asking of teachers, that they were actually implementing them in their classes. And so then that would give us an opportunity to talk about what we saw that was going on great, and it would also give us an opportunity of what we needed to do to coach specific teachers. And so that's something that I'm looking forward to doing with my team, and also with the principals, is going into the classrooms, taking a look at instruction and seeing what the teachers need so that they can improve, and seeing what they're strong on and what they need help with, or if they need any more resources.
And I think the more you get into the schools, the more visible you are, the more people will start to feel as though they're supported. And part of your role as superintendent is to do the day-to-day work in schools and support the changes that we want to see. And so I'm happy to hear that you were able to do some of that already, and you will continue to do it as you get acclimated with your district. What is your philosophy on education?
Well, every kid can learn as long as we have teachers who are prepared, supported, have everything they need, because we know that kids, it's not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to educating kids. So we really want to build capacity in the teachers so that they know who each and every student is. You know, you were talking about the data earlier today. And so we know that that data belongs to names. These are kids. These are actually real human beings. And so part of what we want to happen is that our teachers know who these kids are so that they know how to address their educational needs individually.
Right. So, you know, we've laid the foundation, like I said, and it's only time for us to build upon what we've put into place. So it doesn't appear that you will struggle as you get into schools to support, meaning that not because you were not here in the territory means that you don't know what good instruction is. And I think that's one of the qualities that stood out for me in your interview, the fact that you had so much experience in training teachers, in supporting administrators, which is primarily what your job as a superintendent is. It's not the buildings, but we do the buildings because we know that we need to have conducive environments. So while we're struggling with the buildings and, you know, different things are coming into play, your focus is on what is happening in the buildings. So one of the things I also liked about you from your interview was you're bilingual.
Oh, yes. My bachelor's degree is in Spanish, and I've studied abroad to make my Spanish a little bit better than when I got my degree. So I've studied abroad in Mexico. I lived with the host family there while I was taking summer coursework at a university. And that was my first opportunity learning Spanish outside of the United States. And I learned so much in that one summer, because when you're going to the grocery store or you're catching a taxi cab and you have all your courses in the target language, which is Spanish, it really forces you to learn the language. And then I kind of caught the bug and I wanted more. And so I traveled to Venezuela and I lived with a family in Venezuela there and took Spanish coursework. And then I had also traveled to the Dominican Republic, and I was there just for a short time the first time I went, and I couldn't really understand the Dominican Spanish, so I knew that I needed to go back. So I went back to the Dominican Republic, and I was taking Spanish classes there at an institute, and I was also living with the family. And then later on, I ended up working at a school there in Santo Domingo. And so I spent almost 2 years in the Dominican Republic, and so I think my accent is more of a Dominican accent. But yes, I took the steps that I needed to take as far as becoming bilingual, and my Spanish is pretty good.
So I'm excited about that. I feel that we often struggle in making sure that we leave no child behind, meaning that we're providing the necessary services to English as a second language learners, and also our special education students, our special needs children. And I think that you bring that to the table as well as Ms. Shillingford brings that experience as a special education background. So I'm excited about the work that you guys will do as a team to move the district forward. And so what would you like to say to your families, to your students as you begin this journey with them?
Yes, just like I said before, like I'm going to treat each and every one of these kids as if they were my own, because kids are kids. It doesn't matter that I'm coming from the mainland or anywhere else. Kids are kids, and they all have a need to be loved, and they all have a need to feel like they're safe, and they all have a need to learn. And so I'm going to make sure that that happens accordingly with each and every kid. And I take this position that I've been placed in very seriously. I want to see growth. I'm very excited about the team that we have, that my deputies that I'm going to be working with, and everyone that I've met so far, directors, everyone has just been so supportive of my vision and my efforts, and I can't do everything just by myself. It's going to take teamwork. Like everyone has their part that they have to do, but I'm very excited about seeing the needle turn a little bit, seeing the needle move a little bit, and making some strides and growth and also academic achievement.
I think part of our job is to always remain positive, always know that, you know, in the midst of any type of storm, you know, part of what we do is we solve problems. And we have to own where we are.
Yes.
And so you were baptized with
by fire,
with the recent challenges that we've had at Eulalie Rivera, for example, and some other schools around your district. But what I appreciated about you is that you jumped right in alongside myself and Mr. Milligan, the maintenance director. And we started with Principal Moorhead to troubleshoot and come up with solutions and different things that we could expedite in order to get these classroom spaces up and running and safe for our students and of course our employees. And so, you know, we know that the community was a little bit upset about the fact that we had to do that. But infrastructure challenges are not unique to the territory. Infrastructure challenges happen all over. And I remember us having a conversation about the protest that happened yesterday, and that you had something that you had experienced in your leadership career. So protesters and people standing up for their rights and advocating for the well-being of the community is not something new to you. We actually embrace it, and then we look for ways to solve the problem. So tell us a little bit about, you know, any future infrastructure challenges that you may encounter as the superintendent. You know, how do you feel about the work or the relationship with Mr. Milligan and being able to solve that?
Sure. Well, I've been here. I just got here last week, and I have seen a lot of behind the scenes work that others have not been privy to. But it's been almost like 24 hours around the clock. Like people start early in the morning and are working to the evening hours. And so there's a lot of work that's going on that people just don't see. And so I would just say, as far as the infrastructure, it takes time. It takes time, but it's happening. And there's so many projects going on, different pockets of projects going on, but things are happening and they're moving. And I understand, you know, the parents, these are their children, and they want the best for their children. Their children are their most important part of their life. And I understand that as a parent. And so I understand when people are upset and things are not moving fast enough because they want what's best for their children. But I can say, like I said before, is that things are happening, and other people on the outside who are not seeing on the inside, they may not see how they're actually taking place and things are being accomplished. For example, at Rivera, they got a whole entire new tiled cafeteria that no one was able to talk about, a beautiful floor that they have, but there was such focus on other things, they weren't focused on what was going on that was great. And like I said before, also seeing the teaching that was going on. That's the main thing that we're here for. Like, our goal is student academic achievement, and we want our students to learn. And learning was taking place. And so we're just going to take these challenges with the infrastructure as they come, work them the best we can, give it our all, give it 100%, and just remain focused on our kids, because that's the foundation of everything that we do.
Awesome. So did you set any goals for yourself in terms of what you want to see for yourself professionally and for your district?
Yes, well, the main thing that I wanted to do was just build relationships with the people that I'm going to be working with, the principals, the teachers. And when, we were talking before about that I would be going in classrooms, I don't want the teachers to feel threatened by my presence. I don't want the principals to feel threatened by my presence. I want, when I come on the campus, they're thinking, okay, here comes support. Here comes backup. So that is like my main thing right now, is going around and meeting the principals, trying to figure out their leadership style, trying to figure out their strengths and where I can support. So that's the main thing right now, is just building relationships, finding out people's roles. Because I know a lot of times, we have a job description, but people's actual roles involve a lot of other things. So just, meeting people and figuring out what it is they do and how I can support.
So we talked about infrastructure, and we talked about, you being an instructional leader. I'm going to turn a little bit to some of the things that we discussed when we looked at the data. One of the things that the St. Croix district struggles with is absenteeism, chronic absenteeism. And I was able to share some data with you. And what we were seeing was that our students who are in those early childhood grade levels, such as pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, up to third grade, were experiencing the highest absenteeism rates. As the superintendent, how are you going to address that? And what can you say to parents about, students being absent and the impact that it has on their overall success?
Right, and this is something that just this morning I was talking about with my new deputy superintendent. And so a focus for her is for all of us, is going to be on attendance, but she will be leading that charge. But we have talked about that on campuses, we have to have some type of attendance committee. We have to be placing phone calls to parents. We have to be having meetings with parents so that they know how important it is for their students to be there. Because if their students are not at school, they're not learning. And that's our goal, is that our students learn. And so it's not going to be the work of just one person, but we all together as a community have to work on the attendance, because transparently, as you said before, the attendance rates are pretty low, and so that's a high priority for us, so that we can make some changes and improvements in that area.
So we talked a little briefly about setting some target goals, and I know attendance is going to be one for you, because what happens when your attendance is below the 95%, it affects your overall evaluation of your school. So it's going to impact how our schools are rated, because attendance matters. And so parents can look forward to attendance campaigns. We even talked about, our experience and incentives for students, who have perfect attendance. We walked into Ricardo Richards yesterday and had the tour with assistant principal Ostry, and she was telling us about the attendance data wall.
Right, as soon as you walk into the school, that's the first thing you see.
Right, so attendance matters, and when a child is not in school, that is important instruction that the child is missing. So when children are absent, and absent for 10, 20, we had students for 30 plus days, right? That's 30 days of quality instruction. And so we're almost setting our children up to fail. But if it's medically related, had to
That's
adjust to
something
that.
different.
That's different. I'm talking about parents just don't want to get up. So Mondays, students are out. Fridays, they take off because they want long weekends. And we need the commitment of our parents to be valued partners in this process. So, you know, I talked to my cabinet about parent initiatives. We used to do parent conferences. We used to do parent seminars, and we want to be able to bring that back, because being a parent isn't easy. You have twins, you have a big son, I have 3 children. We understand juggling work and parenting without a manual, by the way. Nobody gave us instructions about how to be effective parents. So we do it based on our own experiences. So we want to be able to support our families. And so do you have any ideas on some of the things that you would like to see in terms of supporting your parents?
Yes, I was thinking about even like a parent university where we have different things to help the parents with different resources. And when I was thinking about when you were talking about students that were absent for like 20, 30 days, we need to find out what the root cause is. Like, what is going on? What is it that we can do to help the parent? Because sometimes they just don't know, have the resources, or they just don't have the answers, and they're suffering silently. And so just being able to partner with our parents, making sure that they have everything they need for their students. But basically, it, like I said before, it can't just be one person. We all have to come together as a community to work with our parents. And I said before, we're all customer service agents, and our parents are our customers. So we have to be able to provide quality customer service to our parents.
And it really takes us partnering with some other government agencies that service the same clients, and making sure that, you know, we are doing our best to meet their needs. In my travel in the territory, you know, we have parents who have it hard. And one of the things I want to say to our community is, you know, I was cleaning out, you know, we do our spring cleaning, and my granddaughter had lived with me for a period of time. And, you know, I was cleaning an area out that was hers. And I found all these school skirts and shirts that were in good condition. So what I did is I packed it up, I washed and I packed it up. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this to the school and take it to the school. And I feel like every school should have a place where parents who are in need can come and get quality uniforms, because some of our parents are struggling. And, you know, give back to our parents.
I think that's a great idea. And gently use uniforms.
So, you know, good condition stuff that you don't have any use for anymore. Maybe we need to start a drive.
I think we could.
You know, maybe we need to do that across the territory and have a place where parents can lean for assistance when it comes to uniforms. Another thing that we used to do when I was a former principal was, you know, we had a wash and dryer on our campus, and I had some parents who just couldn't afford to do their laundry. And, you know, as a principal, and that's what you'll be working on with your principals and building that relationship with your parents. You know, if you're going through a hard time, you know, we tend to regress into these little silos. But I'm encouraging our parents to come forth and say where your needs are. We may be able to help you. We may be able to steer you in the right direction, because I always say, happy families make what? Happy students. And we want our children comfortable coming to school. We don't want them to feel less than. And so that's something that you could consider maybe, you know, doing in your district. What are your thoughts?
I like it. I like it. It sounds like a really good idea. Especially, you know, you've seen a lot here, and I'm still learning the Virgin Islands. But like I said before, you know, parents, they're our customers, and so we have to do what we have to do to make sure that our customers have everything that they need.
Right, and one thing about us as educators, we're not only looking at academics, we're educating the whole
child.
And so the social emotional learning, making sure that their basic needs, that Maslow hierarchy of needs are met, all of that contributes to the success of our children. And one of the things that, we continue to be committed to is making sure that they have the resources, that our environments are conducive to learning. We're not going to put people in places that are not safe.
Right.
It may not be perfect. We are working to remedy some of our challenges, but your commitment is there, Dr. Gonzalez. And we really appreciate that. We appreciate you taking a risk, because this is a risk. You completely move into a new place at this time. So we appreciate that.
I am so happy to be here, and it really just feels like home. I had a great peace upon arriving, and I mentioned to you before, normally the day before school starts, I'm very nervous and just wondering, how the day is going to go. But the night before I met everyone, and the night before the first day of school, I just had a great peace amongst myself. And so I just feel like whatever comes my way, I'm just going to take things as they come. I'm not going to be scared away very easily. And
Awesome.
So I'm going to face challenges head on, because I feel like for every problem, there's a solution.
Yes.
Some solutions may be easy to come by. Some solutions take a little bit more planning and brainstorming. But for every problem, I feel that there's a solution, and we're going to get through it.
So we heard today that parents and employees can expect to receive support from you, and that, at the center of what you're doing are our students and the best interests of our students.
And I will be visible. They will see me on campuses.
They will see
I'm not going to be holed up in my office, even though the view is very beautiful, but I will be on campuses and in classrooms, working alongside all of the educators that are the soldiers on the front line.
So you've heard it here on Live with Vide. Dr. Gonzalez, we welcome you to the Vide family. What we do is not easy, but we have a task that we do not take lightly. We actually impact the future of these islands, and we need to make sure that what we're doing with our children, because they belong to us. All 11 or 10,500, I would say, that we have territory-wide belong to me. You have about 5,500 that belong to you. And so what we want for our own, we want for them. And so we are public school proud. That's our hashtag for this year. We are advocates for public education, and we will continue to work together to build back that trust in public education. So before we close off, what else would you like to share with the community?
I'm just super excited, and my own children will be in school here. That's how much I believe in the education system here in the Virgin Islands, to bring my very own children. So I'm super excited to see them grow along with their classmates. So I just feel like this is going to be a very good year for us, that we're going to make a lot of strides. We're going to make improvement. We're going to see growth. We're going to see student academic achievement. And as far as our faculty and staff, our teachers, principals, I want them to feel like that they are in a place that they want to be, that they enjoy coming to work every day. So I want to be there to support all of that and just make sure that all of their needs are met and they feel fully supported. And so I'm ready to go. Let's get going.
So you're ready to hit the ground running.
Let's do it. Yes.
Let's do it. Love it. So, we are here just to introduce you to the new superintendent. We're asking for your continued support as Dr. Gonzalez transitions fully to the territory. I know from the beginning of this year, from August 1st, I felt it deep down in my spirit that this is going to be a year of transformation. And the table has been set. and we are about to partake, and our children are going to have an incredible, productive, and fun-filled experience within the walls of our classrooms. We want to thank the entire VIDE faculty and staff for your commitment, for your patience, for your flexibility, and for your heart for the children of these Virgin Islands. Look forward to hearing much more from you, Dr. Gonzalez. And thank you for joining us on Live with VIDE today. Have an awesome rest of your day.